We're rolling?
Good morning.
Fuck, man. So for those who are wondering why Richard's laughing is because we tried to do a Zoom for the fourth fucking time, right? And we can't get it right. So apparently it is, I mean, it's harder to get somebody on fucking Zoom on a podcast than it is to send somebody to the moon. So, Richard, am I wrong? Why am I enjoying so much this whole DEI shit backfiring on the Democrats as much as it is, right? Like, this is the way I see it. And I know you and I, first of all, we made an arrangement, right? That we're not going to... An agreement. A truce. Yeah. We're not going to attack each other, right? But we're still going to disagree on stuff, you know? Okay, so... the fact that we have to have that agreement, it shows our level of maturity. Yeah. But hey, is the AC on? It is, right? Yeah. All right. So this is the way I see it. So the whole I'm not saying that this is a conspiracy to kill him and that they, send this guy, or it is a possibility though. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Right. Like they could, listen, you see it all the time. They could, and again, this is not my stance, but if I go up to you and I say, hey, I'm going to kill your fucking parents unless I'm going to kill all of this and that, and unless you do this and this and this and that, right? And they fucking set them up and they do whatever they got to do. There's a possibility that happens. You know what I mean? Wouldn't be the first time, right? So, but that's not the point. The point is that this whole thing totally backfired on the Democrats. Not that they had anything to do with it, but if this assassination attempt has escalated Trump's popularity by what? Double?
100-fold, I would say.
100-fold, right? And the reason why it was ever able to happen, in my humble opinion, is because we don't have qualified people working there, right? So, dude, I went on I don't even know how many sniper podcasts I listened to, right? But the fact of the matter is that the fuck-ups were very basic. I mean, like, it wasn't anything, like, this guy did not have to jump through almost any hoops. He basically walked to the building, climbed the ladder, while people were pointing at and looking at him. He was able to set up shop up there, point. When they saw him, when the Secret Service saw him, they, like, almost... Then they had to start calling, can I shoot him? Can I shoot him? Can I shoot him? Can I shoot him? And then you could see the guy kind of hesitating. It wasn't until he started shooting that they shot, right? So, what's up with that echo? Oh, all right. I should not worry about that echo. All right. So, so this whole DEI thing, so everybody's saying the same thing. Like, this problem is not now. It started 3-4 fucking years ago when they were hiring people based on race and gender and sexual orientation, right? Actually, not sexual orientation. That's something else. But race and gender.
I think the sexual orientation is part of it, too.
You think so, too?
It's part of the inclusion, yeah.
It is part of the inclusion. I mean, I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but it did look like their sexual orientation was lesbian. You know what I mean? I mean, that's what it... And you see the lady... Did you see the video of the lady trying to holster her gun?
No.
You did not see that video. So there's a Secret Service lady. I am absolutely going to go out on a limb and say her sexual orientation is full-fledged lesbian, okay? She is heavy set, 5 foot something, heavy set. So apparently she's never really had to use a gun because she holstered her gun all the way in the back, right? And again, I'm not an expert in guns, but again, this week I became one, I think, right? All these guys are saying, hey, this thing has to be kind of up here because it has to be wherever you have your gun, you need to have direct. She had it, so she was going like this. So there's a full video of her just going. Kevin, can you pull that video up? Yeah. So it's her, Trump. This is the same one that was hiding behind Trump. You saw that picture.
Yeah.
So that one, when
the wage gap.
Right, yeah.
That was hysterical.
So when they take him to the truck, right? He's behind them now, and she's trying to holster the gun, and she can't, and she's like, so she can't do anything with it, and she's just fuck it. I'm just gonna hold it and act like I'm doing. But they caught the whole thing on video. So this is what that right there backfired on. Now, I also think that the reason why they're in such deep trouble right now with Biden, right? Like they have nowhere to go, dude. This guy's dying. I mean, this guy's maybe not dying, but he is just falling apart and falling apart fast. And they don't have somebody to lean on because they hired Kamala. Oh, here we go. So look at her right there, right?
First day on the job.
Yeah, watch this. Okay, so now she tries to holster her gun. Here we go. Oh, hey, oh, hey, oh. There's a longer form video than that. Like she really struggles to holster her weapon. So now let's talk about the vice president. So the reason why they can't lean on, you can leave that again if you want. The reason they can't lean on Kamala Harris is because the chances are very, very high that she was picked because she was a black woman, right? So they don't have a badass vice president that could be like, hey man, I'm going to take the reins and I'm going to go with this and I'm going to take this to the finish line. Let me skip ahead here. Let's put him in the forefront and everything like that. I mean, so this DEI stuff is really coming out to bite him in the ass. What's your thoughts on that?
So, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And, look, obviously I think there was a time when certain groups of people were marginalized. And so the notion, the idea is sound, but in reality, it's just very bad. It's just a terrible idea to...
It sounds good on paper.
Right. It's a terrible idea to substitute qualification for, these other things that really don't make sense. And I think the theory for a long time was like, well, it's like doctors. There's thousands of doctors, right? Hundreds of thousands. And by and large, just like lawyers, there are many that are just not that good. But on a day-to-day basis, they get the job done, right? And so it's like every time, you break when somebody breaks their arm, there is like the premier orthopedic surgeon out there that will perform like the best possible surgery if surgery is required. Yeah. But then there are hundreds of thousands of others that are not the best surgeons, and they'll still like adequately perform the surgery. Yeah. So I think the mindset is like, hey, we don't always have to have the best of the best because the job can get done with someone that's not necessarily the best. And this kind of thinking has just, there is such a thing as overdoing it. And it's just been overdone. I mean, it's just been overdone. Like everything has to have this slant to it. We're constantly choosing people that are not qualified for the job. I mean, we even have airlines.
Did you see that comedian?
Yeah.
He says, well, they're picking, they want, certain gender or certain race or everything. He goes, so wait a second, not the best pilot?
Right, exactly.
That's not what we're looking for. Right. We're looking for a specific.
Right. We're not worried about who's best qualified to fly the plane. It's fucking ridiculous, bro. I mean, it's and again, that's the thing. There is such a thing as overdoing it. So it's
is
like
there a fucking echo? Am I hearing a fucking echo back there, or am I going crazy right now?
Yeah, we're hearing it. It's just fucking bananas. Yeah.
He's a phenomenal editor, man. Obviously, he's having a hard time with the whole podcast thing.
So, in other words, you didn't find the best producer.
I wanted to go Jewish. And I didn't ask him if he was good at podcasts.
So the DEI backfired here on the podcast production.
My love of the Jews, my love of the Jews. But all bullshit aside, his editing is magical. He's really good at that. So I suspect he's gonna figure out this whole podcast thing. So man. So this is what we had. We were supposed to have a buddy of mine, Nolan, African American. He actually doesn't even like to be called African American. He likes to be called Black American because in his thinking, he's like, I've been to Africa, dude, and I'm not African. I'm American. So I wanted to bring him in because he's done a phenomenal job of raising two Black American kids. One of his sons in Cornell, stud athlete. I mean, as decorated an athlete as you can possibly be in his sport, and very religious kid, very well-spoken kid, very just great, great student, the whole situation. And I've had these conversations with him. I'm like, look, man. So let's talk about our kids. Let's not even, I wanted Nolan here so we could kind of talk specifically about African Americans or whatever. But let's talk about our kids. Our kids are Hispanic kids, right? And it's normal here in Miami, right? Here we are the majority, okay. But we go any of these places that I go to, right? Like, I mean, for my son's sport, I got to travel to like Iowa and Pennsylvania and Kansas or Utah, whatever, these type of places. So. The way I'm raising my kids, I don't see a space for that DEI in my world, right? I wouldn't want my kid to get a space on a team because of it. So like, say for example, my son's always, getting picked for certain, wrestling teams, for example. I wouldn't want somebody to call him and say, hey man, at the 100-pound spot, I really need a little spick from Miami. You know what I mean? Like, are you available? No, he's going to get picked for these teams because he's the best wrestler for the spot, right? Same thing with my daughter. She gets, tennis is a little different. It's not open tournaments like it is in wrestling. They can only fit a certain amount of kids in those courts. So they usually say, all right, everybody submit that you want to go, and based on their ranking, they get they'll accept 32 kids or whatever. I wouldn't want, her to be, ranked 49th on that list, and because she's, a Hispanic girl, then who the fuck in their right mind thinks that's the way to raise a kid? That it's not what you do and how you do, right? I just don't understand it. Like, how did this even happen? I mean, it's happened right before our eyes in our lifetime, right? But how? Like, how? What does that make? How does that make sense for any race, for any color? Call it the Chinese, right? Are we gonna, like, I don't know. They're not really known as great athletes. I mean, they won a lot of Olympics, so maybe not. But let's just say for the sake of conversation, they're not great athletes. Are we gonna make things easier for them so they can make the NBA team? Right? How many Chinese do we have? We had like one in the NBA, right? What are we going to do? Like, leave a space at the end of the bench for, 3 Chinese kids? I mean, I don't understand. Like, do you understand it a little bit better than I do? Because I don't fucking get it, man.
Sports is the one area that I think you don't see it as badly as in other things. You see it more in like in work. Like in the business world,
but I wonder
corporate
why,
America,
though. Right?
Yeah, well, because the it's very easy to spot inadequacy in sports. So you see it less in sports.
Well, it is also in the military. Like, I was watching you watch the Tim Kennedy when he says, "Hey, you could either carry this sack of rocks for a mile at this pace, or you can't."
Right.
Like, this is how you make it to the special forces. You could carry this through this at this time, or you can't. If you're a woman, you can do it. Awesome, right? If you're a tranny that can do it, awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
But if you can't, you can't. Yeah. Like, what? And let me tell you, man. Like, this is like, I really think there's going to be a huge pendulum soon. I think people are actually. I mean, am I wrong? People are starting to figure this out and saying like, "Whoa, what the hell is going on?" You think so?
I think people are. I mean, the problem is that it's.
But we have buddies that are not.
Well,
we have one in particular.
Well, the thing is, we have buddies that don't believe that the problem is as prevalent as we think it is.
And we have some that think it's way more.
Right. And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. I mean, like, again, we joke about the algorithm, capturing our one friend who's fucking out there, and it's like, and it really is.
We're trying to get him on the podcast, by the way. I'm not going to say who it is until we get him over here, but
crazy.
He's extreme.
That chat is bad for my mental health, bro. I mean it.
It is mine too.
It's fucking crazy.
It just keeps me sharp, though.
So the thing is, again, even in the military, the reality is that, like, we're going to a much more technical warfare type environment. So you don't really need the guy that can carry the sack of rocks for 1,000 yards.
You do for the special forces.
Again, but I don't think
you don't need the drone guy.
I don't think there's too much DEI in the special forces.
Well, I think Tim Kennedy actually said that in that interview. He did say you can have a fat ass that is driving drones, no problem.
Right.
That's fine. But every job has a particular set of like skills and
Yeah.
how about height,
Yeah.
right? For if you have, I don't know if you heard this part, but he's like, if you have a 6'3", 300-pound president, the person guarding him has to be 6'3", you know,
Right.
and, right?
It can't be 5'7".
You cannot have
140 pounds.
You can't have a 5'2" girl guarding. And here's another thing: you got to be able to carry the president. You got to be able to pick that guy up. They did everything wrong. Again, I'm not an expert in this, but I like to think I became an expert this week. I watched so many of those damn special forces, and there's a Secret Service guy too. I watch an hour. This guy was through 3 presidents. I mean, let's bring. I mean, the only thing we can do is bring awareness. I'm not going to get hired by the Secret Service and be able to make those changes, right? Let's bring awareness to what the issue is, and I just don't think it's being broken down all the way to where I think the problem lies. It's all the way with kids, right? So if you have a kid, right, you need to raise the kid to be the best at whatever it is, right? You need to be able to say, and again, I wanted to get to a particular sector of it, and I wanted Nolan in it, but we fucked up the Zoom again, right?
I'm here.
It's okay. So how you can't raise a kid saying you have a disadvantage because you are Hispanic, because you are black, right? Or you can't. You need to raise somebody and say, and if you raise that one person, I'm talking about, you multiply that by hundreds of thousands, and it's a society. You can't continue to raise a society thinking that they can't do this and this because of this and that, because of their race. You can't do this because of your race. You can't do this because of your gender. No, man, you do what you put your mind to. But if you don't make it, you don't fucking make it, right? Mm-hmm. And I joke around about it all the time too, like this whole DEI thing. You know, so if you are a 5'1" woman, no, you should not be guarding the president, right? Just like I didn't put my son in basketball, right? Because he's not going to be 6'9", right? What's the point? I'm not going to waste I'm not going to put him in a waste of time situation. So yeah, you pick what you do based on your natural gifts, your height. Just like, you know, listen, you didn't pick.
I'm not going to play basketball.
I'm not, right. And by the way, I'm 6'2", and I still think I wasted my time playing basketball. Right. I could have done a million other sports. I would have been probably a big football player. You know what I mean? I was a small basketball player. I mean, and it's the same thing. You know. So look, back to the society thing. If I'm raising a kid, right, I need to make sure that kid understands that nobody is, you know, trying to slow him down. There's not a conspiracy against him to, like, you know, he's not going to make it because green people say that he can't make it or whatever. He's a Hispanic kid. I'm not going to tell him that white people want him to, like, you know, not succeed because fuck that shit. And if they do, fuck them. Even better. Like if there's actually a conspiracy on white people for Hispanic people not to make it, fuck them. Good. Now we want to make it even more. But as a society, it's like, oh, no, because they don't want you to make it, we're going to create a slot, right? So that no matter what your qualifications are, you're going to make it anyway because you're a little Hispanic kid from Miami, and I want to make sure that you make it to this university, right? And that you make it to, you know, this, you get this job because this job would normally not hire anybody because of this and this. I mean, dude, that if there's a problem in this country, I'm going to tell you that DEI is the number one. I mean, am I exaggerating or tell me, dude, because, you know.
No, I mean, I think it's a big problem. I don't know that it's the number one problem. I mean, in my view, in my view, the number one problem in the country is that we have a horrific public education system. I mean, we have the worst. And by the way, it's nothing new. Going back to even when we were kids.
Yeah, but charter schools are coming to the rescue. Private schools are coming to the rescue.
Though, man, they're not. We've had
a lot of homeschooling happening right now.
Schools have been around for a long time. I mean, there's a famous interview. You can pull it up on YouTube that Justice Souter, a former Supreme Court justice, gave that he felt that the greatest threat to the country was that people don't know civics, and so that's all of this. Political polarization is due, like, in large part to the fact that people just don't understand the way our country works, the way the laws work. And you don't have to be a lawyer. I'm talking, people don't understand like the concept of the 3 branches of government and how laws are made.
Oh, I don't.
And so, right. And what happens is that there's no requirement for people to know it,
Right.
and it's like, think about it. Like, I don't know about you, but I remember growing up and watching kids that were complete fucking idiots, like graduating. Like they just graduate. Everybody graduates. Bro.
I had two. No. I had two.
know?
I had 2 friends. I had 2 very close friends of mine. You know who they are. I'll tell you off air. That graduated like it's not in law. What's when you can't write? I just forgot what
Illiterate.
Illiterate. I was
Can't read, can't write. Illiterate.
Illiterate. 2 friends that you know how they learn to write? Text messages. That's how they learn to write, and they're still not exactly shining examples of literature. But
right. They still can't write. They just
yeah, because you got the autocorrect and everything like that.
Right. They can't write. Autocorrect.
They write. Okay, they can write or not, but they write. Right. So that is scary shit.
Yeah, and yet they get through school.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just bullshit, bro. You just gotta show up, dude, and they're gonna get you through school. And the reason for that is because the schools will take a beating if they fail kids.
Right.
So it's like, everything has gone away from the concept of merit. There's a concept of the meritocracy where it's like everything is based on merit. And right now we just do not have that, bro. We're the opposite of that. And so it's so bad. And
you add that to the DEI situation. I mean, we're just headed down the wrong.
So what happens is, it's been many years in the making. So now it's like the adults that were adults when we were kids, they were better prepared than today's adults because they grew up in a less bullshit time, and the education was better before. It's like that video that somebody was sending it around the other day about how I see it on Instagram every day. Like you see all the kids in physical fitness in school. Like they're all
like in the 60s.
They're all doing push-ups. Like they can all do monkey bars. It's like right now, how many kids can fucking climb monkey bars? Like I enjoy taking my daughter to the park. She's 8 years old. Bro, she gets on the fucking monkey bars and she's like this. She's fucking ripped. And the little boys are like, I work on my legs. Yeah. Like literally, I had a little boy, like she went up and she came back over the water, and we were on a cruise and this and that. And this little boy who couldn't do it is looking at her, and he was older.
Gymnastics is such an awesome sport.
And he was like, I work on my legs. And of course I didn't say anything.
You sure thought it though.
Of course I was like, sure you do, buddy. And it's like, because he's watching this girl that could like do it better than him. And so again,
by the way, you could have also done it with the legs, and she would have beat him on the legs too. Right. And if you had a rope to climb, he would have really.
Right. And that goes back to our point that it's not about having an issue with minorities or women or anyone in any particular segment of society. It's having an issue with the coddling, the making concessions for people that don't deserve it. And I'm telling you, in Plato's Republic, it's a great book. I don't know. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. Yeah, I heard it from you, but I haven't read it.
So the whole concept of the book is that he literally goes through and he discusses every single form of government, okay, that existed as of that time, and he ranks them all, okay. And by the way, he hated democracy. He felt that the only thing worse than democracy was despotism, okay? So what he does is he goes through and he talks about every form of government and their pros, the good things and the flaws. And then at the end, he describes what the perfect society would look like. Now, fact of the matter is, nobody wants to live in Plato's Republic. Okay? Right. Like, it's just not, it's contrary to many of the things.
Is it kind of like Calvo's Republic?
No, it's like, first of all, it's like, just to give you some ideas, everyone is born with like a specific role. Okay, so like
whether you fit for that role or you don't.
No, they make it so that you fit.
That's what I'm saying,
for example, they breed like
my dad wanted me to play baseball.
Right. So no, but it's not the parents; it's society. Like and the government's ruled by what's called philosopher kings. Okay, and so these are the people that know best, and so they'll breed strong men and strong women to produce the soldiers. Okay, so that's going to be the fighting class. And then they find the smart people, and those people are going to be the doctors, and they're going to be the engineers and things like that. And they take the kids away from family at birth. Okay, so, and the reason why they do that is to create this concept of community, because you're going to encounter someone, and for all you know, it's your kid. Okay, so it's again, nobody wants to live in Plato's Republic, but what's interesting
there's a lot of cool concepts in there.
Yeah, what's interesting is that when he talks about democracy, he's got this very famous phrase in there that he says, democracy is a peculiar form of government, providing equality for equals and unequals alike. Okay, and the reason and the concept behind that is like, listen, bro, we're just not all created equal. Okay, we're just not. So I don't have a great head of hair. Okay, I'm not 6'2". I don't have a tremendous physique. So what am I going to do? Am I going to be upset about that? Like, there's just nothing I can do. Like, you can't.
Do your best with what you have.
Right. And it's like, if I always tell people, if we found out that there were aliens, okay, and that there was an intergalactic Congress, and we finally got invited, humanity finally got invited to participate, like in the galactic government.
Right.
But they say to you, you have to send your 2 of your brightest and best. Send me 1 man, 1 woman. Like, I'm absolutely not going to be picked. You might have to pick a guy like Tom Brady, right? Because the guy can throw, he can talk, he can speak, he looks good. You know what I mean? Like, that guy's the perfect specimen kind of thing. Yeah. And so what happens is that when you tell people over and over and over again for 150 years that everyone is the same, that everyone is special, okay, that everyone can achieve great things. Guess what? Those things are lies. Not everyone can achieve great things. They just can't. Yeah. Okay, so of course and it goes back to your point. You can't be telling people, hey, you can't achieve great things because you're black or because you're Hispanic or because you're a woman. But it may not necessarily be untrue to say to your kid, like my daughter, she loves gymnastics, bro. She's a great gymnast. Frankly, I don't think she's going to be an Olympic gymnast. Why? I'll tell you why. Because she's 8 years old and she's very good at it. Okay. And then there's another little girl that's in her group that's 8 years old. And bro, the little girl's like the Michael Jordan of gymnastics. Okay. And it's just.
Yeah, but that shit changes after puberty.
It could. But my point is, I didn't say I was certain. I said I don't think. And it's the same concept with like why you don't put Elijah in basketball. Right? Like right now, he could excel. He could be great because at 8 years old, they're all more or less the same height. They're the same speed, the same this and that. But what happens is at a certain point, there starts to be like a separation. Okay, so of course, do I crush my daughter's dreams and tell her, hey, I don't think you're going to go to the Olympics? No, but what's the reality? Like there's like 8 Olympians, bro. You know what I mean? Like there's 8 girls that go to the fucking Olympics or whatever the number is for gymnastics. And there are hundreds that miss it by a scintilla. So it's again, it's a concept that we have.
Yeah, but that's not the point is if you were to tell her that she's not going to make it because society, because she's Hispanic and that white people don't want you to make it, want to keep her down and society. And then what would make it even worse is that if you spoke to the school or the Olympics and say, you need a spot for little Hispanic girls from Miami.
Agreed.
That's where the problem happens.
100%.
You know what I mean? And
100%.
And as a society, so can we safely say that 50% of our population agrees with that DEI stuff? I mean, they vote for it. Or you think out of that, 25 out of that, maybe half and half, or
I think that I think that
like how bad is the
most
problem?
People, I don't think that's been the driving force of why they vote. What happens is
there hatred of Trump?
Well, a lot of people hate Trump. They'll vote for anything other than Trump, no doubt about that. But I mean, as a general premise, like, how did the Democratic Party get to like these being like the messages and like their ideas? And I think it's largely it's a function of vote getting, right? Because again, and another Platonian concept of this is that in the ideal society, nobody would run for office. Okay, like you'd have to beg people to be a politician because by definition, the politician is supposed to serve others. And what do we see? What is the main complaint about politicians is that they serve themselves, right? They lie, they want power, so
they
it's
all lie.
Right, they all lie, they all want power.
It's almost like the best liar is the one who gets it.
And then once they're in power, they want to keep power, right? And so in the ideal society that Plato discusses, the ideal candidate does not want to be in office. You have to drag the person into being in office because if the politician that does what he's supposed to do, he's always at a personal disadvantage, right? Whereas to the contrary, being a politician creates a lot of personal advantages, right? I mean, we hear it all the time in the corruption and things like that. And so again, the country is just so backwards on a lot of these principles that after a certain number of years, it starts to become a problem. That's what I was saying about education. It's like 30 years ago, it was already bad. Like when I was in school 40 years ago, it was bad.
It created me. I graduated with a 1.5 GPA.
Yeah, 40 years.
I mean,
okay, but you have work ethic. So it's like, 40 years ago.
I also had parents that told me that anything was possible.
Yeah.
I also had parents that didn't say, hey, man, you're a kid from the trailer park. You got to chill out with your goals, because I would tell them, no, I'm going to be a millionaire. And, this is what I'm going to do. And these are they didn't say, well, no, son, you got to understand. You're a little spick from a trailer park, chill out with the goals. The white man's not going to let you do that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just imagine me, right? I had every reason not to, right? Like, came to this country on a fucking shrimp boat, right? I mean, obviously extremely poor for the majority of my life, of my childhood, right? But man, I just had parents that said, hey man, we came to this country. Here's another thing. They love this country, right? So imagine you're growing up in a household that hates
the country,
the fucking country.
Terrific.
In addition to, oh no, you hate this country because the white man is going to hold you. You're not going to be able to do. The only way you could succeed is if we create a slot for you in these universities, and we create a slot for you in these jobs, right? Because America is against you. And then you watch a sport, okay? And this is where you and I argue sometimes and everything like that. Then you watch a sport, because I don't want to watch a sport that fucking all they do is shit on the United States of America. I don't want my kid watching first of all, you watch a sport and it's all LGBTQ commercials, right? Am I wrong?
No.
Right. So it's, again, listen, I have hired 2 gay people in the last, I've joked around about it. I'm like, dude, I might go all gay. I mean, their fucking people are awesome, right? Like, seriously. Have I not said that? Listen,
he means it in the best possible way.
What better way can I say? But nobody forced me to hire gays. I just ended up, I don't care if you know what? Hey, here's the job. Can you do it? Right? And I hired them, and hey, oh shit, one of them was whatever. Yeah, it was more evident than the other, right? But hey, man, fucking awesome. You're gay, great. You know what? Let's do it.
It's actually a very funny Republican political commercial from 4 years ago, the prior election, when Mayor Pete was running for president. And they did, man, Kevin, if you can find it, bro, we should pull it up. We should play it. But it was a commercial where they went through and they analyzed every candidate on the Democratic side, like every single one, and they shit on all of them. It was so funny. But when they got to Mayor Pete, it was like, Mayor Pete, gay, and it's a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, nobody gives a fuck, man.
Yeah, listen, I say it because literally in the last 6 months, right? I've hired two gay kids, right, for like important positions in my company, right? Dude, I don't give a fuck if you're gay. Can you do the job or not?
Right, 100%.
But if I would have hired them,
like, I'm going to hire you because you're gay. Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to ask them if they want to come in here. And how would they feel if I say I hired you specifically because you're fucking gay? You know what I mean? Like,
but the problem is that there's a large group of people out there that are good with that.
With what? Who hire you because you're gay?
Yeah. And again, that's part of the fuck up. And so look, it's like it's in the open now, and that's the whole thing. So there's like, again, I have relatives, family members.
You got a lot of fucking gay people on your side.
I've been to gay weddings, the best times I've ever had, etc. But
they're a little more fun in weddings, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
they're better dressed. Well, what other stereotypes do you want?
But
good dancers.
But what's amazing about it is that I think there's a large segment of that population that are outraged with what's going on
100%
today.
I would say I would say 80% of the gays are disgusted with what's going on right now.
And then there's then of course there's the vocal, and again I say it all the time, the social media, the internet. These are huge cancers, bro. because everyone has a microphone. I mean, look at us. We're just two fucking dumb fucks, and who knows how many people are going to listen to this.
Right.
Some people inevitably are going to comment, these guys are fucking idiots, these guys are racist, these guys are this, these guys are that. And then there's going to be others that are like, oh, this is amazing. And then this is going to prompt other people to fucking do a podcast. I mean, Sebastian Rusk, our buddy, bro, sells podcasts. Yeah. Can you imagine? The guy's got like a business selling podcasts. I used to tell him all the time, like, bro, you're going to starve doing that. Who the fuck wants to start a podcast, bro? Like, nobody's trying. And it's like, everyone's going to have a fucking podcast now. And then I'm telling you, it's these people, brilliant people, say things and they become legendary statements. Like, you know, I think it was Andy Warhol. In the future, everyone's going to have their 15 minutes of fame. Okay, and that's literally happening. So think about it. The press. People are like, oh, the press. 100 years ago, the press was like 5 things. Yeah. Okay, so now everyone is press. Right?
I mean, right at the beginning of television, it was like 2 things.
Right.
It was 2 channels.
It was like 2 channels.
2 channels.
Remember, you had to get up and move it?
2 channels.
Yeah, I was talking to my daughter about it the other day. She was shocked.
Yeah.
We were talking about this the other day, and she sees a TV. I forgot where we were, man. And it was like an old box, like a tube TV. And she was like, is that the TV you had when you were a kid? And I was like, something like that. Yeah. And she was like, and like, what would you watch? And I was like, well, there was only a few channels. Like, what? And she was like, what do you mean there was only a few channels?
Netflix?
Yeah,
right.
And then my wife was like, yeah, and when something was on, you had to watch it then. So, you know, like there's shit about on
You had to be ready for
right.
at 8 o'clock because that's going to come
and
on.
You can fucking
that
pause.
was 20 years ago.
Right. You can pause live television now.
Right.
I remember when that happened like
I was
5
like,
years ago.
TiVo. It was TiVo.
I was like, what in the fuck
TiVo
did we
on.
just do? Did we just pause live television?
TV? Yeah.
Like, how the fuck did
that
we
was
do
TiVo?
that?
Like when TiVo came out, I was like, whoa.
Yeah. No. And so I'm telling her, I'm like, so at first there was only a few channels and there was no internet. And she was like, no internet? And I'm like, yeah, baby, there was no internet. And she was like, well, how would the TV like?
How would you watch TikTok?
Yeah, no, like how would the TV like know what to play? And I was like, it had an antenna. And she's like, what's an antenna? And I'm like, yeah, you know, like the fucking rabbit ears, you know, it would have this thing that came out and in the
sometimes
air,
you had to move it around.
right, bro, and it would come in the air. Okay, and like, and there were, and remember, the commercial would come on and you would sprint to use the bathroom.
Close that door.
You'd sprint to use the bathroom to come back before the TV came back. And so, you know, again, with the advent of technology has come a lot of the dumbing down of America. Yeah. So a bunch of things have come together. A horrific education system that has been in place for, let's say, 50, 60, 70 years. And after 70 years of pumping out idiots, the vast majority of people are fucking idiots.
Yeah, Richard, but
it's like, dude, everyone has a compendium of all human knowledge in their fucking pocket and nobody knows shit.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, but again, the reason why it's scary is back to the whole, you know, so I have a kid, right? Imagine I have a Hispanic kid, right? And I spend, you know, I'm going to backtrack and start over because I stopped, you know, at the sports thing, right? And the commercial thing. So, hey, man, you know, you can't make it because you're a little Hispanic kid from Miami, you know, chill out with the goals, like just speak, you know. You can't do this and this because of the white man. And then they watch a commercial, then they watch TV and they watch the sport that they like or it's entertaining. And then there's, you know, every other commercial.
Sentiment, yeah.
Every other commercial, right, is, you know, gay, okay? And again, obviously I just mentioned I have 0 problems with gays, but I mean, you know, if I got a kid and all I spent all day was telling them how heterosexual I am, right? That'd be fucking weird, wouldn't it? Yeah. Right? Like literally, if I just did a commercial on how heterosexual I am, and you know, and I only have sex with women, and here let me kiss this, let me tongue this woman, and it's fucking weird because it's a kid, right? It's a fucking kid. So it's just the constant bringing up of sexuality is what's fucking weird. It's not what sexuality. Right? It's unnecessary. So if I'm raising a kid, right, I tell him, hey, you can't make it because you're this and this and this. And by the way, fucking America sucks. You hate this place. As a matter of fact, when they bring out the national anthem, you're going to kneel for it. Just like your sports heroes kneel for it. Okay? And I mean, how the fuck does that kid make it through that like, I don't know, it's like an obstacle course of excuses and reasons why, you know, they should, you know, hate everything around them. Like, how do you make it through that? And that is
it's
systematic.
And it's funny, but it's so true, because it used to be that the inverse was true, right? Where like every day in school, I don't know if they do it anymore. I'm not in school, but every day we used to have to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
In fact, and think of, by the way, people say it and they don't hear what the words mean. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Right.
Like you're
pledging
allegiance. Your allegiance to the country. And at FREC, we do it. We stand up for the every meeting starts with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody gets.
What if you upset somebody? What if somebody gets offended by that?
There's no concept of that. And by the way, in the years that I've been there, I've never once seen somebody not stand, okay, or not do the pledge. And it's literally on my script as chair, and it's like, you know, welcome to the June or July 17th, 2024 meeting of the Florida Real Estate Commission. My name's, you know, Richard Barber. I'm the chair. You know, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. And then I have to name a commissioner, Commissioner Kenyard, Commissioner Price, and then that person starts it.
Singing?
Okay? No, the Pledge of I pledge allegiance to the flag, right? And so, but
I'm saying they start.
Yeah, they started,
oh,
and
really?
then the rest of the room kind of comes up. And so, but man, these things, these concepts have been eroded. Like now, being anti-American is cool. You know, like, and so I have a very dear friend of mine. He's one of the smartest guys I know. I went to law school with him. I haven't seen him in years, but we keep in touch, you know, on the internets. And
Intranates.
yeah, and you know, he's a big critic of the country, but I don't doubt his love of the country. Like, one thing is you want the country to improve.
Big difference.
And right, you know, you want the country to improve, and then there's these other people that are just, bro, it's anti-American sentiment, and it defies logic, because it's like, do you see? I mean, people are fucking die trying to get here.
Literally.
People put their fucking lives at risk to get here.
And by the way,
you know, like,
if you hate it so much,
get the fuck out of here.
Why can't you get the fuck out of here?
What kind of asshole?
I mean, people move all the time. Get the fuck out of here.
Imagine what kind of idiot you have to be to walk around suggesting that the country is garbage when this is where everyone in the world wants to be primarily. I mean, that's not true.
Well,
this
and
is
you're
where
driving
from shithole countries.
When you're driving from point A to B, you know, look, I'm in Miami, right? So I get people from Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador. I mean, you ask those people, why are you here? It's because it's safe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get kidnapped. Right. I'm not going to get killed.
Yeah, I don't got to worry about getting shot, going to get a fucking...
I don't got to worry about somebody extorting my business, going and saying, hey, I have a little mom and pop shop. You're going to give me $20 a day or I'm going to fuck you up. Like, you don't have to worry about that, right?
Country of laws.
Listen, man, you know, I say it all the time, like, these South Americans that come here, they love private communities. They will buy it's almost like exclusively they live in private communities, like with a gate and a guard. And I realized, I don't know, 10 years into this, I'm like, these fucking people, the reason why is because that's what they're used to. They have to they have to have that level
quarantine.
That level of quarantine, because that's what they're used to. Like in the building, it's like you pick a building over there. Like my wife's Venezuelan, right? Kidnapping is part of your day-to-day operations over there. Yeah. One time when we first got married, she's like, well, I got to go back to Venezuela. I'm like, I don't think it's a good idea. She's like, well, no, I have to because I have to listen. I'm like, listen, I'm telling you right now, that's not a good idea. And what I don't want you to do is put me on a fucking mission. Because if you get kidnapped, right, it's my fucking problem. Yeah. Like, now I got to go and figure out how I'm going to unkidnap you in a third world country, right? With money, with violence, with whatever. Like, don't go. She went. Guess what happened? It was a gunpoint attempted kidnapping. And I always joke, my wife repeats things like a motherfucker. She'll repeat the same fucking thing 100 times. She repeated the same thing to these people until they let her go. But it was gun to the head. Take your shit.
Can you imagine? They were like, fuck it, let's get somebody else.
Pick somebody else. This one's going to repeat the fuck out of things, you know? Dude, gun to her head, you know, like they took her car, they took her purse, they took everything, and they tried to take her in the car. They just didn't because she was annoying them. That's my theory, right? But, you know, so when they come over here, they just want safety, man.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Like, I just want to live like a life.
Yeah.
What's that president that we love? Bukele. That's what is that? That's Salvador. Is that Salvador or Ecuador? El Salvador. I mean, those people just wanted to live, man, without getting killed, without getting those tattooed faced guys to
That guy is so good.
What the man. I gotta listen. I don't want to meet a lot of people in this world. I gotta meet that guy at some point. I gotta meet that guy at some point.
He's got a great one where they were, he's human rights activist.
Yeah, right.
Going bananas about the way he's treating.
Yeah, he's with 40,000 of them in jail.
These
40,000. That's a city.
And the way that they treat them,
Perfect.
Right. And so that he was like, no, because one of these people asked me if there would be chicken for these prisoners, if they would eat chicken. And I said, they will eat chicken after every Salvadoran who's not a fucking delinquent has chicken. Right. And after that, when our police officers have chicken, and when all of our hospital workers eat chicken, and when all of our children eat chicken, and when all the dogs that are wonderful, that are people's loved pets, when they eat chicken, then
if there's any left over,
right? After all this shit, then those fucking scumbags will have fucking chicken, right. And he's like, no, and these people are fucking outraged. He's like, come get them, bro, come get them, take them, and go take them and take care of them and do these kind of things. And it's
all yours.
And the world, I think we're seeing a lot of these kinds of politicians in the world because
Argentina.
Because bro, people are tired of the bullshit. I firmly believe that we're at this like inflection point,
pendulum point,
where people are just like, again, it's like there is such a thing as overdoing it.
Right, and they've overdone it.
And this has been overdone. And it's like, again, a lot of people say that the pendulum has to swing and all that, and then eventually it corrects itself. But man, like this swing is painful and it's damaging to the country. I mean, it's
listen, and let me talk about like separation, and this will be probably the most controversial fucking thing I say, right? So I grew up playing basketball, right? I don't know, 80% of my teammates were black, right? I always say this story. So I got invited. I don't know. You remember Tiffany? I'm not gonna say her last name, whatever. But Tiffany, huge. She was a basketball player, a white girl. She gets married to a black guy.
Oh, I do remember.
Remember that story?
Yeah. No, well, I don't remember the story. I remember her.
So,
she's very memorable.
Yeah, she gets married to a black guy, right? Super nice guy, fucking great guy, the whole situation. I get invited to her wedding, right? But her wedding was like, you walk in and like literally black people are on one side, white people are on the other side. Like, and I'm like, all right, well, she put me with the black people, the funner side of the room. Like, right, this is where the people are drinking.
The more fun.
No, funner. That's the side I'm like, oh, that's the side I want to be on, right? So I didn't even think twice. Like, I start walking towards that area, finding my table, and she put me on the white side. I'm like, Tiffany, why'd you fucking put me on the fucking white? I ended up leaving the white side and sitting on the black side, right? This was 2010, right? 98% of the music that I listen to, right, is black music or rap hip-hop. Music, hip hop, whatever. That's how I grew up. I grew up in in that era where
90s hip hop is the best.
90s hip hop is all I listen. Shit, my son is pretty much what he listens to. You know what
Presidents come and go, but Wu-Tang is forever.
Wu-Tang is absolutely forever. you know what I mean? Absolutely. I've had one sticker in my whole life in my car. It's been a Wu-Tang sticker. I've never had any bumper stickers or anything like that. So what I'm trying to say is like, so my entire life, I voted Democrat my entire life, right? All the way to Obama. Right, so I voted for a black president twice. Okay, in the last 4 years, okay, with this whole BLM shit and this whole Antifa shit and everything like that, I will tell you right now, if I go to that same wedding, 2024 Jesus, I'm probably not gonna sit on the black side, right? And let me tell you why. It is. For whatever reason, I don't know why this has happened, that culture has become hate America, right? Like, why? It's NFL, the kneeling, the are you texting or listening or what are you doing?
I'm both.
Okay. So yeah, man, I don't know what separated our country. What the fuck has happened where I feel a separation? Like I'm the Hispanic guy, and I'm leaning towards the white guys more. There's a cycle. Something's happened, right? Like some phenomenon has happened where it's like, dude, what the fuck is going on? Where's the separation? And what worries me is that it was fabricated, right? Like how severe. Like I asked Ethan the other day, right? So Ethan is Jewish, right? And I go, hey man, have you ever felt any anti-Semitism or anything like that? He's like, no, not really. You know what I mean? So, but you hear in the news right now, it's all fucking, everybody hates, the Palestine thing and everything like that. So what I'm saying is, has social media gotten to my fucking head, right? Where I'm starting to, it is gotten to the point where, if I ask 10, African Americans in the street, hey man, do you feel racism? I wonder if 80% of them will say no. And that's why I wanted to get, the guest that we had on today before we fucked up the Zoom was really to ask those questions. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how enhanced this is and how, how exaggerated it is where it's gotten, the country separated, because I'm not the only one that feels that way. I'm not the only one that's gotten those feelings recently, that has spent my whole life thinking one way, thinking Democrat, right? And let's just talk about that. Like, why the hell have I turned absolutely Republican? I'm extremely Republican at this point, from Democrat to extremely Republican. Like, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's happened, but I think something's happened.
So I agree. I think, first of all, people change. So, and what I mean by people change is, and there's a comedian, bro, a guy named Shane Gillis. He's very funny.
He's the fucking man.
Yeah,
I know Shane Gillis.
And he's got this one bit that he talks about.
I know all of them, so.
Yeah, how you become Republican as you get.
Oh yeah, as you get older.
You know, and he's like, and he even finishes it like so. So
and
he's
his dad,
like, right? He's like, your dad, you don't start as a huge fucking dick. He says, because Republicans generally they're considered to be fucking dicks.
Right.
And he's like, and he goes on the rant, and then at the end he's like, and mermaids are white. By the way, I mean that. That's very important. Because of the whole backlash when they remade Little Mermaid, and the Little Mermaid was a black girl.
Right.
Okay? And so what happens is that I think it's a combination of you get older, and it's like the classic line of "get off my lawn," okay? Because honestly, like, who gives a fuck that they remade the Little Mermaid and the mermaid is a black girl? Like, who gives a fuck? Like my daughter saw the Little Mermaid the cartoon, and she saw the Little Mermaid the movie, and like she didn't come out like at 8 years old and say.
But that's not what really got me.
No, I get it. But what I'm saying is, our sensitivity to things changes over as we get older. That's number one. Number two, I think that the issue that you're describing, the phenomenon, does exist, but then it's amplified, okay? And when you say, did social media get me? I think it gets all of us, okay? And I firmly believe in this concept of like the algorithm, because again, like if I open our friend's phone, okay?
It'll be all conspiracy theories.
Everything is conspiracy, bro. Everything that they feed him, every video he's got is of crimes. So what happens is that he opens it, and that's all he sees, bro. And then on top of that, and I firmly believe too that people are weak-minded. Yeah, but when you have a weak mind, bro, you're influenced.
Right, but then you turn on ESPN and you're watching basketball.
I get it. It's mainstream as well, but I.
So I have a tattoo of a basketball on my body, right? Listen, like I have a tattoo of a basketball, and I don't fucking watch basketball right now.
Yeah,
right?
I get it.
I don't want a sport that hates every star, hates America. Yeah, I don't fucking like it.
I don't know that they hate America.
Richard, they don't stand for the national anthem.
Yeah, but again,
right?
But I don't know that they hate America. That's just the way what they're doing is packaged for everyone to create this outrage, like separation. I firmly believe that there are people that like spin everything. So like yesterday, I'll give you a good example. Yesterday in our group chat, someone, and they'll remain nameless, sends a video suggesting that the Democrats are now adopting the slogan, "Make America Great Again."
Well, there's one video of them doing it.
Hold on. I'm going to tell you what I did.
Okay.
And then not only is does the video come through? But then the caption on it was, guess what phrase the Democrats are adopting now? And then it's like, ... No, I'm not kidding.
Right.
Okay. And so that whole phrase, that whole post, the purpose of the post is to piss people off, to create outrage.
Yeah.
Okay. That person who did that, bro, they have no, like, in my view, they're bad people. These people that like sow division.
Why? They did not say that?
They did, but what happens is I went and pulled like the whole video, and what they were doing was they were mocking Trump. They were saying the guy that wants to make America great again, wants to eliminate women's right to choose. He wants to put people in camps. He wants to kick out all these hardworking people who have been in the country for fucking 20 years and do the jobs that nobody wants to do. Blah 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 blah. And then they were like, what we want is this, and what we want is this. And so it was like one of these things of using the phrase against him. Like the Democrats aren't actually going to start saying "Make America Great Again" as their slogan. And so,
but they are trying to get people without citizenship to vote.
No, man.
What do you mean?
No, man. No. So again, listen. I can shit on Democratic talking points, and there are lefty division sowers all day. I'm not taking a side. What I'm saying is that part of this phenomenon of the separation is that what we didn't have when we were younger, what didn't exist because there was no social media, okay, was people who had unlimited access or unlimited ability to expose people with weak minds, okay, to divisive...
renting space in their head.
Right, to divisive ideas. Like now it is a cottage industry of people who purposefully wake up in the morning and their job is to drive Americans into separate corners. That's their job. Yeah. That's literally what their job to do. And guess what? They're fucking good at it.
Yeah.
And so
that's why I'm asking you. So I'm asking you straight up. So that wedding situation, the fact that, I would probably sit on the other side of the wedding now,
and I think that you'd find
13 years later.
Yeah.
Right. I would probably sit where I was pissed off, upset, insulted, that I sat on the white side of the fucking thing, right? I wanted to sit on the fun side, okay? 13, and not even 13 because you could go 5, right? Best friends growing up, Black, Marvin, Jack. I mean, I play basketball. Those are my guys. Those are the guys that slept over my house. You know what I mean? Like that. And now all of a sudden I'm like, God damn, man, what the fuck's going on here, dude? They hate me. They hate me. Yeah, right.
I think you'd find.
So I'm gonna hate them. That's really the.
I think you'd find that it's not as bad as you think.
Right. And I was back to the point where I asked Ethan,
it's heightened. Which, by the way, growing up, I didn't. In school you learn about racism and the whole shit and the civil rights movement and all that. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really understand the concept. Like I never. And it would supposedly people, we've sent the photos in the group chat about like, keep the fucking Cubans out of here,
yeah.
And all that. And I'll be honest with you, I never experienced any of that.
I've been called a spick before.
And then when I went to law school, okay, which was in St. Petersburg, and it was 20 plus years ago already, I got there and I realized, whoa, there are no like Spanish people in my law school. Like Cindy and I were like,
but Cindy doesn't even look at you.
Cindy and I were like among the very few like spicks.
Right.
In law school. And I remember that it was that time up there in that area, which is in St. Pete, which is a pretty big little city, that I experienced for the first time, like the feeling from people that because I was Spanish, like somehow I was like not American. Yeah. Like I used to get it all the time. Like, there was this one kid, I'm not going to mention his name, but dude, I remember that he fucking hated me just because I was from Miami, bro. And when the Hurricanes, it was like that year, the Hurricanes they had won the national title the year before, and they were going to repeat. And there was a bad call at the very end of the game, and they lost to Ohio State. And I'll never forget, bro, that the next day the kid made it a point to be like, "That's what happens when the fucking you fucking spicks run into the Big Ten." Or whatever the fuck, or wherever Ohio State.
They weren't here speaks, right?
I know, but again, that was just ignorant. But I remember thinking, I'm like, dude, I've never kind of experienced that before, where it's like their default was this disdain. Now, did it traumatize me? Did I cower back into a corner? And I'm like,
And oh my God, now everybody's trying to like,
yeah,
right?
no, I don't give a fuck about it. But I do remember that I then realized, I'm like, oh shit, this phenomenon is out there. And so for people in big cities, it doesn't happen as much. Okay, like, and by the way, that's why big cities are always left leaning, because by nature the diversity of thought is there. There's again, think about Miami. It's like you said, we walk outside and fucking throw a rock in any direction. You could hit a Brazilian, you could hit a Venezuelan, you could hit a fucking Cuban. It's like, in fact, you're unlikely to hit a gringo.
So my question, for sure, and the three of them have been in this office for whatever reason, and in this podcast. So my question is really, I've kind of come to I've narrowed down what I think my question is, right? My question is it being exaggerated, and have I been brainwashed, right? And that's my question, and I'm gonna answer it. I'm gonna answer it with another question. If you see somebody with an American flag, right? You see somebody with an American flag on their boat or on their car or on their outside of their house, if you had to gun to your head, you had to pick if they're Republican or Democrat, what would you?
No,
what would you?
Obviously you'd say they're Republican.
Why? Obviously,
well, because I think that in the past 5 years, there's been this. Let's go back. In the past 10 years, since the cancel culture phenomenon came up, one of the things that has been the subject of attempted cancellation is the American flag. Right. In fact, there's a famous political activist, I can't think of her name right now, who literally proposed a new American flag where like the colors changed and all this kind of shit, et cetera. And so what happens is that...
Well, the national anthem?
Right. No. Everything like that. So they say the American flag... it makes people feel bad. The American flag gives people anxiety. We're not going to fly the American flag in certain places. And then what happens? These professional division sowers get a hold of that, and then they blast it. And yes, they exaggerate it. So it's a combination of like when you hear a sound like a guitar. Okay, an electric guitar, if you play it without the amplifier, it doesn't sound like anything. But once you turn the amplifier on, it makes all the noise. So it's a combination of the phenomenon exists, and then they amplify the phenomenon, and then it takes a hold of people's minds. So in the past 10 years, because of people wanting to say that there's something wrong with the American flag, it drives other people to be like, you're trying to take the American flag away? I'm going to put it on my car. I'm going to put it on my house. I'm going to put it on my fucking windows. And that creates, again, it's both things.
But the reason why I bring that up is because the reason I think that the separation has happened, and it's not me, it's myself and the Hispanics.
This fucking phone, man. God damn, shut the fuck up.
You're supposed to have it face down like I do.
I know, man, but fuck.
It's hard to do that. What I'm saying is that I think it's the American flag maybe that has separated us, right? So then the reason why, remember I told you the white wedding and the black side and the white side and everything like that? In the last 5 years, Hispanics are usually very American flag and very American because holy shit, we had to escape hell. Yeah, I had to come on a fucking shrimp boat to come over here and leave communism. So yeah, man, I'm fucking American, right? So maybe it's that. Like specifically, it's the love of America and the use of the American flag that has kind of separated the country into two, right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's the people that have these ridiculous fucking notions about the flag and that it stands for, racism, and that
everything stands for racism now.
And that it's fucking
everything stands for
it's
oppression.
about keeping people down and the colonialism, and like this fucking bullshit extreme left ideology, right? And then that creates an equal and opposite reaction. So the more people that are the fuck the American flag, then you get the opposite reaction. It's like, dude, I fly an American flag at my house. Like it hangs over my garage. Right. Okay? But when we joke in our texts, it's like, you guys accuse me of being a Democrat. I've been a registered Republican my whole life. In fact, I voted Republican.
You're technically, on paper, you're more Republican than I am.
Right. And with very few exceptions, I vote Republican in almost every election. Not for anything other than usually I think those are the candidates that better align with my views on like fiscal conservatism and, it used to be more of a party of like leaving people alone, Okay, and I think that they've gotten away from that a little bit, you know. So it's like it's very difficult to say, like, for example, you know, oh, I support, you know, parental choice in schools, but then you want to like ban parents from like taking kids to a fucking tranny show. It's like, so can the parents choose, or can the parents only choose if they choose what I like? I know. So I get it, but what I'm saying is it's very difficult.
I mean, I know, but it's the Democrats have taken it to the fucking extreme. So, hey, man, you can't. If I see your kid transitioning, I don't have to tell you about it. Like,
No,
I mean, so now it's like you're being forced into it.
No, and again, but here's and
I get it. And I know what you're saying.
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things that has always been a Republican principle is the concept of states' rights, a smaller federal government. Right, so now, and take the abortion issue, which is a hot button issue. Okay, like me personally,
I'm so in the middle on that one.
Me personally.
What are you on that?
I'm pro-choice. Okay, I'm pro-choice. That being said,
I could argue, but can you argue both sides though? Because I could argue both sides.
Yeah, of course.
I could argue the fuck out. I know you're an attorney, and that's what you do for.
I'm a lawyer. It's my job.
I know, but
I'm pro-choice.
Are you 4951 or what are you?
No. I'm pro-choice, and the reason why I'm
100%.
Yeah, I'm pro-choice.
Okay.
I'm pro-choice. And the reason why is because I think that is a more Republican value than banning it. Okay? Like, because I'm for small government.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want the government, to the extent possible, I don't want the government telling me what I can and can't do to the extent possible. Obviously, the government tells us what we can and can't do in every level of our lives. Can we go outside and drive 150 miles an hour? No, we can't. Can we kill people? No, we can't. So obviously there are laws and there are rules, and that's a form of the government telling us what we can and can't do. But my point is, to the extent possible, I don't want the government telling me what I can and can't do. Similarly, even though I'm pro-choice, I am content, I am fine with any state whose democratically elected legislators ban abortion in that state. You want to know why? Because that's democracy, dude. So like my wife will be watching TV and it'll be like, oh, Alabama just passed like a sweeping abortion ban. And she's like, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, you know, the federal government should like make it.
That's what they voted for.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that's what those people voted for. So it's like, so
yeah, like Miami's gonna vote different, or Florida, right, different than Washington and Seattle. You know what I mean?
So in California, and that goes back to the thing about the school. So in California,
that's what they love.
That's what they fucking love, and that's what
they love. The tranny shit,
listen, and if you're a Republican, you should embrace that, because you should believe in the concept, not embrace the philosophy, embrace
that's what they want to do over there.
That's how democracy works.
And if you live there, you're obviously okay with it. So good for you.
That's how democracy works. So again, in my view, people lose sight of, they're inconsistent, bro. Everyone is like, you know, I used to have a con law professor that used to say, where you sit depends on where you stand. Okay, on which side of the room, for example. Yeah. So it's like, dude, you know, it's like the people, the inconsistency on both sides is just incredible. Like, so if you're consistent, and I have what I believe are consistently Republican principles: small government, fiscal conservatism, states' rights.
You can't nitpick and choose what you want.
Right, like you have to. There has to be immutable concepts that guide your politics. Right. That's the way I do it. Yeah. So there is no perfect candidate. Right? Politics are not team sports. There's a great article, I'll send it actually in the chat, and we should do a podcast on it, on the analysis about how and when politics started to become more and more polarized. And it was because CNN brought on a guy from ESPN. I forget the guy's name, but I'll never forget watching the video. And they do this analysis on how all of a sudden they started to make these political talk shows look like sports talk shows, where they had people on two sides, and they bring people on to just be agitators. Right. So if you notice on CNN, they'll have like 5 people here that are left-leaning, and then they'll bring the one Republican guy and they'll sit him over here. And his job will just be to agitate them and say the most outrageous shit. Yeah. And they did that, why? To drive ratings up. Right, so the concept goes away. It used to be that people were like, oh, I miss the days when the news, Walter Cronkite, would come on and just give us the facts. And it's like, yeah, but you know why that was possible? Because as we discussed earlier, there was 4 fucking channels, bro. But when there's 44 channels all about news,
you gotta make the most
alone,
noise.
You gotta get eyes. You gotta get clicks. So sensationalism and going away from the importance of things. A huge concept in philosophy too. It's like, how can you be a great doctor if you have to be a doctor to make money? Like, you can't, like, by definition, you know, it's like doctors recommend surgeries that people don't really need because they need to fucking make
C-section,
money.
C-section.
Right, because they need to fucking
like
make
30
money.
years ago, nobody had C-section.
But
now it's C-section because you make fucking 30 grand or something.
Contrary to the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, you're supposed to take care of people. But the problem is you have these conflicts all the time. Same thing with being a lawyer. You know, listen, again, I'm probably not a millionaire lawyer because I routinely...
You are a millionaire. Okay, whatever.
No,
okay.
no, I wish. I'm a Miami millionaire. Like, nice car, but don't ask me for $50. So what happens is, even the cast is laughing. What happens is, I routinely talk people out of like hiring me because what I want to do is take the fee, right? But then I'm like, man, that's me winning. That's not like solving the problem. Okay. And I think a lot of good professionals do that, but then there are guys, bro, that they'll take anything, bro. Like they'll take you walk in, you have the biggest shit case
the
in
ambulance
the world.
chaser types?
Yeah. And the biggest shit, hold on. No, Talia, I can't talk. The fuck?
Is she power calling you or power texting?
Power calling. You'll have this fucking issue, bro. You know, that it's like people don't do what's best for like as part of their profession. Like they don't do what they're supposed to do because they have this overarching obligation to generate money, you know? And again, I've said it a few times today, the country is very backwards on a number of things. Like we've lost our way on a number of things. Allegiance to the country, education is bad, the polarization is bad, and it's difficult to undo. It's like inertia. It's like trying to turn a cruise ship, you know, that's fucking sliding fucking downhill, you know, and you don't have any propulsion. I mean, it's very difficult to correct these issues. And it's like you said the other day, I hate to agree with you, but you said something like, we need a really fucking, like a bad war. Yeah. Like, you know, like we need a cleansing.
Oh, it's that old saying.
5 billion people have to disappear.
Easy times create weak men, right? And that's the stage we're at right now. Yeah. We're weak men, right? Did you see the J.D. Vance? Now all the J.D. Vance stuff is coming out, and he's grilling the FAA with all the fucking issues that we've had. Like, I mean, there's that world, that FAA world, the flight industry and everything is as bad as it's been in my lifetime. And they had a fucking 120-page fucking memo on not using the word airmen and you know, and like the word wife. JD Vance is like, well, tell me how the word wife like comes into it. And of course, it's the guy who's in charge of the FAA. You know, and I'm going to be fair, I don't know if he's qualified or not, right? But he's a black man, right? I don't know if he was put in their DEI or he's not. But you see what I'm saying, guys? Whether he earned the job or not is one thing. But now he's going in there, and now everything is DEI. Everything, the fucking way.
What was the answer to how does the word?
He didn't know how to answer the word wife. He didn't know how to answer the other one. The other weird questions. He said, "Look, the pilots that are coming in the next years or so are not going to look like me and you. We need to have more inclusive language in the way we operate to be able to get these people over here." Which, look, the guy was very eloquent. To be honest with you, he the fucking, out of all the DEI morons that I've seen, motherfucker's prepared, right? Like he was ready he answered all the questions. He was smooth with his answers and everything. But again, it's all based on, there was another one, like everything had to be like super in the middle because you're erasing, they wanted to erase gender from the flight situation, from air communication.
Like at Disney, and I'm a big Disney fan, to be clear. I just came back actually, but they don't say boys and girls anymore.
Right.
They say friends.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where did gender become an issue.
No, and for how many? What size segment of the population? You
Point
can't say,
what?
Like you can't say. Boys
Kevin,
and
what
girls.
what percentage of the population is gay? And we could deduct 50% from that because
Well, by the way, have you seen that Bill Maher skit on like the percentage of gay people over time
and where they are? Yeah, have they grown?
Like, and it's
at this point,
it's like 50%. He's like, are all the babies coming in the wrong bodies now?
Right,
It's like now again.
and by the way, but you also said that they were all in particular areas, proving the point that it's a social issue and a mental. What's the name of that super hot chick that has 3 tranny kids? Megan Fox. All the kids were born one gender and they're the other gender now.
Yeah.
All fucking 3. Yeah. Like, what are the fucking chances? Again, it's you're born gay. Man, listen, I've had the conversation with both of my kids. Hey, listen, I'm gonna be honest. Rather not, because it's a pain in the ass, right? I'm gonna be honest.
Makes life harder.
It makes life harder. I think any gay person would absolutely admit that. But I would love you just the same. I've had to have that conversation because not that any of them are showing signs of it, but I want to get that out of the way a little bit because you don't want that
stigmatize it.
Well, yeah, and you don't want. I joke around about it all the time. I'll even throw jokes. Hey, like if Elijah wears pink or something like that, I'm like, hey, listen, man, I'm still gonna love you.
Right, and that's what most people would call that's what most left-leaning people would call toxic masculinity.
Yeah,
like you can't even make it. Have you seen the South Park episode?
No.
That's the thing. There needs to be more of this, bro.
South Park has slid through under the radar for like years. Nobody
they
ever has and ever will.
They have the kids are like in Congress, okay? Like they're testifying before like a House committee, and they're being grilled on their use of the word faggot.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and they're like, no, but we don't mean it because he's gay. We just mean it like an insult, they stumble trying to explain it, but then they explain it like so well, and it's like, dude, I don't think I've ever used that word to
an actual homosexual,
or to insult someone.
Yeah,
about being gay.
It just became
like being gay is not an insult.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that's not insult. You don't tell them that's not insulting. It's just slang, bro. And
that's another reason why I hate that we fucked up the Zoom thing, because I wanted to talk to Nolan about that, because he specifically says I don't want to be called African American. Like he's literally told me, he goes like, dude, I mean, I've been to Africa. I'm not African. I'm American. Right? Because one of the things that Calvo said the other day, which, by the way, we'll mention Calvo a lot. He's a buddy of ours that he's extremely lefty, right? And he brought up what president was it that but basically I shouldn't even be calling myself, and I agree with it, I should not be calling myself Cuban American. I'm American Cuban, if anything, right? I'm like why am I Cuban American? Yeah. Why am I putting the communist fucking shit country that I came from, right? That my family had to escape on a fucking shrimp boat. Why am I putting that above America? Right? Like I'm making a call right now. All Cubans, stop calling yourself Cuban American. You're American Cuban, right? And he mentions the same thing. He's like, I'm Black American, right? Like at the end of the day. So I would
he should say American Black.
Right. Well, right. He might have said that. He might have said that. But I wanted to talk to him about like all the different words that can't be said and why they can't be said. But again, we fucked up the Zoom one more time, so we couldn't do that. But it's like like again, yes, I've been called a spick. Who gives a fuck?
No, did you know that?
Who gives a fuck? What does spick mean, by the way?
I have no idea. It's a bad word for.
I've been called an oye. Have you ever been called an oye before? Chico, oye. Too. I mean, it is what it is.
So a few years ago, that buddy of mine that I described from law school, he was celebrating on Facebook because several of the Washington Redskin logos had lost.
Oh, I was in Cleveland the other day. I was in Cleveland last week. It's not the Cleveland Indians anymore.
It's not?
No. It's called the. Yeah.
No, that's the football team. He's talking about the baseball team.
Yeah, Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, it's not the Indians anymore?
Man, unless I drove by the wrong stadium and said Cleveland. Guardians.
Oh, the Guardians. Wow. So get this. So a few years ago, many of the Washington Redskins logos lost their copyright protections. After a certain amount of time,
20 years, I think it is.
It goes into the public domain, right? And he was celebrating that because now like people could use it and this and that. And he was a firm believer in the need for the Redskins to change their name, okay?
Right.
Which finally Dan Snyder, the owner, he finally relented. And he was very funny. For 1 year, he was like, he named them the Washington football team. He's like, let me see, this can't piss anyone off, And so, but now I read the other day that there's a group of Indians that are suing the Redskins
because they want to be called Indians again?
They want it to be the Redskins, and they want to bring the logo back because that logo was actually of a real life chief that existed. And he was like, every time they took the field, they were honoring the guy.
So that's why the answer is...
It's like, again, the pendulum swing.
Well, but that's why the answer is do whatever you think. And if you upset anybody, right? And by the way, if there's any black people that are going to call me racist for what I've said today, I'm Cuban, which means I am literally half black, half Spanish. All right, so fuck you. like literally, you go to Cuba before you any attacks or any stupid comments. I mean, first of all, we welcome stupid comments, but if you're gonna do any of them, just go on and Google Cuba, right? Cubans. What are Cubans? Didn't I send it the other day? The Cuban there's an Instagram that has the makeup of all these Colombians and it said Cubans and it's black, Spanish, and that's basically what it is. The reason why I'm brown, guys, there's a black person of 2 generations back. My grandfather, my mom's side is mulatto. Oh, look at that guy. Can we get this guy? Can we get him on the podcast? One day, you think?
I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it too. And then my dad's side is Spanish. So before you start being a fucking idiot.
Again, and that's the thing, bro. It's so quick to attack people with that.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, it's just tired. Yeah, and again, I think people are getting sick of it, bro. People are getting sick of the oversensitivity, bro. People are getting sick of the inability to say anything. It's like it's and frankly, I think Trump's been a big part of that. Trump has kind of, he's talk about a guy who doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So.
Are you a bigger fan of him now that he got shot, or that he has been convicted 75 times?
No, man. I don't. I personally don't think that the, with the exception of the New York case, which I thought was embarrassing to have brought those charges. I believe in the system. Maybe it's because I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect system. There are bad judges. They're just like the cops.
You don't think the Democrats have just targeted him and nobody else would have gotten targeted by it?
I think that putting it, I would agree that he has been targeted. I don't like saying things like the Democrats, okay? Because it makes it seem like too wide.
But it's a DA that's absolutely a fucking Democrat
that makes it seem too widespread. Like I don't believe that there's a room full of Democrats sitting around thinking about
it's that one,
how they're going to it's
the culture of Democrats that has created that one DA that fucking hates everything Republican and found the smallest little bullshit that valuation of his real estate and all that stuff. Everybody does it. I mean, that's just the way developers function. That's just the way, you get a piece of property and you fucking value it at what, it's called a pro forma.
But what happens is that you alienate a lot of the population because there are people that, again, there's a failure of accountability. People are like, if people don't succeed, it's because they were held down, is the point you were making. So that's why, you get these kids now that they're like, eat the rich and these things. And it's like, again, it's the rot. The rot is deep because the lack of education coupled with the amplification of polarizing issues, coupled with people that are out there whose job it is to make Americans hate other Americans, and it's just really, it's like a wildfire is now out of control. It was a controlled burn, and now it's just gotten fucking out of control.
And no amount of water is going to turn it off.
No.
We're about an hour and a half in, so we're out of time. Ethan, can you go on record here and saying we're not going to fuck up the next Zoom, or?
Careful, Ethan. He thought about it.
I mean, but isn't that what you were supposed to do last time?
I did, but last time we had it on a different setup with your computer, or it was on here, and then we connected you to the headset.
Okay, can we set it up for all setups, or I don't know, just can we? Yeah, you know. So you're going on record saying we're going to figure this fucking shit out. What do you think, Richard?
I have complete faith in you.
I lost it today, to be honest with you. But well, I'm rooting for him.